Welcome to the Roasted Snow Horror Show,
where fear and dread go head to head.
Welcome to the show, where the screams collide, where blood runs cold, and the shadows hide. Each week a fight, two films will clash. Last week's champ, will it burn to ash? The Roasted Snow Horror Show, where fear and gore will always flow. One film wins, one must go. The Roasted Snow Horror Show. Lights go down, the fight begins. Which nightmare takes the final win? You pick your side, we'll break it down. The Roasted Snow, the goriest showdown.
and here are your hosts.
Chris and Ryan!
Welcome, everyone, into the Roasted Snow Horror Shows, where fear and dread go head-to-head. I'm your host, Ryan Rosted. Everybody thinks my last name is Roasted. With me is my good buddy, co-host, Snowman, Chris Snow, the sexual Tyrannosaurus, all the mayor of the nicknames. And we have an awesome special guest here. We're piggybacking off of Ed McKeever from last week. And we actually, he recommended Mr. Joe Castro to us, who is big on the visual effects side. So, Joe, thanks for joining us. I have a ton of questions. I know Chris has got even more probably. So,
oh man, I've been chomping at the bit all day. I was in the gym this afternoon, like, what kind of stuff do we get to ask tonight? This is gonna be so fun.
Right on.
yeah.
Thanks for having me on the
What got you started into the business? Did you always want to be in visual effects? Did you have other aspirations? What kind of got you started in this?
That's a great question. Let's see. Basically, when I was 7 years old, my dad sat me down in front of the TV and said, "Son, watch this. You're going to really love it." And, my dad was my biggest supporter growing up, and he knew I liked dragons and dinosaurs. It was the first time I could ever, sat down. I was 7 years old. It was 1977. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a Saturday afternoon. It was probably around 1 in the afternoon. And it was Godzilla versus the Smog Monster.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Godzilla versus the Smog Monster?
Mm-hmm.
All those old Godzilla films are amazing.
Well, if you've never seen Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, Godzilla versus the Smog Monster is like the darkest Godzilla film ever made. It has its own special cult following. And Godzilla almost dies in it. He bleeds red blood. It's very graphic. They're people actually die on camera and stuff like that. It's a very graphic Godzilla film. There's some adult themes in the film. Anyways, and this was 1977, so television was a little different back then. But this was like a Saturday afternoon, and when the movie was over, I was like, "Dad, how do they do that?" He's like, "Look, son," and in the credits it said, special effects by, and it was kind of translated from Japanese where it said special effects. And he said, "That's how they do it. They use special effects." And I said, "That's what I want to do. I want to do that when I grow up, Dad." Yeah,
That's awesome.
That's how I began.
He was like, "Hey, little Joe, come sit over here. We're gonna watch a family film."
Yeah, well, he was actually, my mother and my older brother were gone for the weekend, and my dad was babysitting me. And I grew up on a 55-acre goat ranch.
Nice.
In South Texas. And so he was out working on the ranch, and he needed some way to keep me occupied while he was out working on the ranch. That's what he did. So when he came back in, it was like, yeah. So
Love it.
My dad was so cool. Everybody loved my dad. My dad passed away when he was 50 back in 1997 from a horrific car accident about 1.5 miles from our house. And he was just so loved by so many people, and he was absolutely my biggest supporter growing up. Yeah.
Love that.
That's awesome.
Love that. So getting older, how did you break into the business? You got the passion when you were young. I'm sure you kind of worked and perfected your craft as you got older. How did you get into the business of, using your craft to make these movies look amazing.
Let's see, that's a very, I mean, I'll be 56 this year, and I just feel like I've just gotten good. I mean, like if you're an artist and you think, and you think you're great at like 20 or 30, it's, it can be, it can be challenging to grow from there if you're not looking at your work, trying to find room for improvement. So I think that, over the years, I've just basically surrounded myself with people that were better than me and were teachable the entire time. But I moved from Helotes to Los Angeles when I was 19 years old, and I met a lot of really great people since I've been here. I didn't have any family when I came here. I came out by myself with a friend of mine from high school, and he moved back to Texas like within like 3 months. He couldn't take it, and so I was like alone in my little one-bedroom apartment in Van Nuys, California, trying to find my way in Hollywood. And basically, it's just networking is like half the challenge here. If you're not a social butterfly, it's probably not a good place for you to be. And you have to be a part. I would say even 60% of what we do out here is social. It's not even the skill. I mean, yeah, having great skills is great, but there's a lot of artistry that goes unrecognized simply because they don't really they don't play well with others, and that's also part of it. So it's not just the skill set, but it's also the it's the whole package. You got to have the whole package. So I've seen so many people come and go over the years. I've been in the business for 43 years, and it's just like people take themselves out. It just depends if you're having a good time and you stick around, and the longevity and this sort of thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the cliche story that, everybody's like, okay, hey, I want to go to Hollywood. I'm going to leave everything behind, going to go there, with a buddy, by myself, whatever.
They say they say something like over 100,000 people move to LA every year.
Mm-hmm. And I mean,
and like almost 85% of them leave like within the first year.
Oh man.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm glad you stuck with it, because clearly you're doing stuff right. I mean, I was actually looking at your website. I was eating breakfast. I don't know why I was doing that, because that was one of the many mistakes I make. But guys, if you want to check out his work, and we'll mention it a few other times in this episode, but it's joecastrofx.com, and that's FX the letters, F and X, not affects the word. So I'll put it on here as a link as well. But
throw in a couple of good pictures of the work right here too.
Yeah. Beware, because I'm gonna pick some gnarly ones right here. Yeah, you want to talk about doom scrolling? Holy crap! Because Chris and I, we talk on our show when anytime we're covering a movie and there's a gnarly kill or an effect, and kind of what makes us squeamish. And like for me, it's Achilles slices. I can't do it. I hate it. Anything with a tongue, I can't do it. Is there anything that Obviously, I've seen your work, so maybe a loaded question here, but is there anything that just completely grosses you out, or are you pretty numb to it right now?
Well, growing up in the 70s and early 80s watching movies, it was a different, how do I put this? Like we had great teachers, but they also had a lot of bad habits. And, like today, if you saw like if there was like a brain like on camera, like a brain, someone's brain, they probably just killed the animal earlier that day.
Oh man.
And I can't watch movies from like the 70s and 80s where I know they're using real animal organs on the camera, because I know the animal must have just died for that scene, and I just don't find it like entertaining to like look at some organs from some animal that recently died for our entertainment. Yeah, I mean, if you want me to get real honest about that, that's that kind of thing. Also, like, if you look at like movies from like the 60s and 70s and 80s, if they're like rats or bugs and stuff like that, and they like, they're like in slime, or they're covered in fake blood, or they're being hurt, I was like, yes, I I can't watch. That doesn't really entertain me. Even if I
Soft
think
spot
it's
for the
good, even if
animals.
I'm watching a movie and I think something bad's going to happen, I'm like, oh, no, I'm sorry.
Well, and
But
especially when there's that realism to it, like if if it is a real animal being affected, I mean,
oh
yeah,
yeah, no, I
obviously.
mean, there's this one movie from the '80s that I love, but it's obvious that it, you know, it looks like they probably drugged this dog so they could hang it upside down and pretend that they sliced its throat for like a sacrifice in a movie. And I was like, wow, like how did they get permission to do this? Like who like signed off on this? And I will never be able to watch that movie again. There's also another movie called The Gates of Hell. It's one of my all-time favorite movies, but there's a scene where this woman throws up all of her insides, and it's obviously like real animal intestines. And then there's also a scene where all these maggots like rain in this room, and people like walk across the room like to pick up a telephone that's covered in maggots, and it's obvious that they walked across these maggots, killing them to get to the phone.
Oh,
I just can't watch that stuff.
we were
As
we
far
were
as like an actual effect, very few people these days actually do special effects in a way that's actually realistic. And it totally, like, I have no problem watching gore, especially if it's like Hollywood fake gore, because there's nothing like I grew up on a goat ranch. I saw like animals die. I saw animals bleed out. I've seen people like dead, like actual people dead. And there used to be a time when it was like a badge of honor to make a special effect that looked absolutely real, and that's what the movies in the '70s and '80s were like aiming for. But today, with I'm not going to mention any names, but films that just like have like gluttonous gore that don't really base what they're doing in medically accurate realism, it just doesn't really affect me at all because I don't see it as looking realistic. It doesn't bother me. But if I Google an image of like, you know, open brain surgery because I want to see what it looks like when someone has their scalp pulled back, with the brain, because if I'm going to make something, that I get squeamish about.
Well, going off of that, so one we were talking a couple weeks ago about my favorite horror remake of all time is 1982's The Thing with Kurt Russell,
Uh-huh.
and I think Stan Winston advised on that movie, but the major makeup artist or the major special effect artist was a guy named Rob Bottin. He was only 22, and I always remember that movie was one of my favorites because that movie's over 40 years old at this point, right? But the special effects on it like hold up even today because they go into what you said, they look real, but they're also terrifying at the same time. Like they did it just perfectly. So you as an artist, when you're designing an effect, you're designing something, for film, how do you know the difference between something that's really frightening, that's going to scare people, or something that's just, technically impressive? How do you draw the line?
Because, I always go base everything I do. I could like capture like 50% of what Mother Nature's already created. I'm doing pretty good. Just funny to bring up The Thing. My dad, well, because my dad and I bonded over all kinds of films. I got that movie came out in 1982. I wanted to say that Christmas. It was a summer film, and that Christmas also it came out like when ET came out, and it was like playing at the same time, and so it wasn't a box office hit. In fact, it was a complete flop, and so we rented it on VHS, and I remember like watching it in like Christmas of 1982 because that's when we got the first VCR, like a
Yeah.
VHS, a portable compact VHS with a camcorder came out. That's when movie cameras were released to the home video market,
And they were
and
about this big. You hold them
yeah,
on your shoulder.
yeah,
My dad
and
had
so
one.
so we
It's so good. So good. I love that film so much. Awesome.
The world, like what something disgusting, then you'll be good. Like, making stuff from your own imagination isn't if it's too obscure or too surreal, people can't relate to it, so it won't scare anybody. Like, have you ever looked at someone's art and say, "What is that? What is it? What is that? I don't get it."
Yeah.
If you put a little bit of realism in there, then the people can relate to it. But yeah.
Love that.
I want to
That's
talk a little
awesome.
bit about the Beast Comes at Midnight. Before we
Yeah,
get
that
too
was actually
far.
my next
Yeah.
question was I was going to ask you because obviously, I mean, we've talked a lot about like the gore aspect, the kind of your work, really disgusting work. What stood out to me in The Beast at Midnight is just how much different is it designing like a werewolf compared to like blood and guts and all that? Because horror fans know if a werewolf looks realistic or if it's just some guy in a mask. I mean, it's pretty easy for most horror fans to tell the difference, and it can make or break a film.
Well, The Beast Comes at Midnight was, I think it's the only PG movie I've ever worked on in my entire life. And that's something to consider, like when we're making it. It's like a family werewolf film. And and it's also the beast. So it's kind of like, it has a werewolf like folklore to it, but it's not actually, I think in the story, and it kind of goes off the mythology a little bit about how like he's always kind of a wolf. He just becomes more wolfy the more the it gets closer to the full moon and this sort of thing. So I think that I mean, making a werewolf is very difficult to do. It is really difficult because so many great ones have already been made, and and the great ones that have been made, they are. It takes money to make a monster with hair look correctly. Most people don't realize that. Like whenever you see like a fake head on camera, like for instance, I have like a full beard here, mustache, this right here. You got eyebrows, everything, sideburns, all this. If you want to make realistic, this is the most expensive part of a fake head, adding the hair. And if you talk
Interesting.
about a werewolf is all hair, like the way it grows and this sort of thing. So, if you don't got the money to make it look good, it's not going to look good. It's just not.
I
Doing
make a bald werewolf movie.
Yeah, making a realistic hair is a whole adventure all on its own. Making Harry and the Hendersons, gorillas, this sort of thing, can be very, very expensive for special effects artists. And
Well, and that's
you
most people
bring
don't realize just the cost that goes into every aspect of making a movie. So even like I'm sure people wouldn't even guess like, oh, I wouldn't even think that hair would be expensive. But
it's not so much the hair itself; it's putting the hair on correctly, because
I think I
you can easily screw something up by having a bad wig or bad hair on it, And you look at like a Halloween costume of a werewolf. The cheesiest part about it is the hair.
the hair. I remember reading something about when they were making Thriller. Rick Baker did all the special effects for Thriller, and he was saying like the hardest thing I did on that entire shoot was the final mask they put on Michael Jackson during like the movie in a movie when he fully transformed into the werewolf. He said that mask alone took the vast majority of my time to make it look right. He said I made 4 of them, and 3 of them looked horrible.
Yeah, because he probably because it made it looked too cute. It looked like a puppy dog.
He was like, it looks
Yeah.
like I'm watching like Muppets at night,
Yeah,
is what he said.
exactly. Designing like I would say like a werewolf has been the one I've made two werewolves in my career, and they were like they're still like the hardest things to do. Yeah, they're very difficult to do. And again, also everybody has like a very already a very prejudiced idea of what a werewolf looks like. So trying to it's like asking someone to eat like a mutant version of a hamburger, like it's just like, nah, I'd rather just have the hamburger. So it's very difficult to get somebody to enjoy or even acknowledge something new. Yeah.
Well, and I'm going to be sprinkling in pictures of the werewolf along with guys. The Beast it comes at midnight. We talked about it a good length last week as well with Ed. But you can watch it on Tubi. It's free. You know, and I mean free. It's free. Yeah. If you watch a couple ads, you don't have to give a dime. And they have a lot of great horror movies on there. But this one, it is literally readily available. It takes you 2 minutes to download the app, and boom, you're ready to go. You're ready to watch Beast Comes at Midnight.
And the best part about The Beast Comes at Midnight is it's kind of it's a human story. It's a real human, touching human story. It moves along at a great pace, and it totally delivers. I mean, it's not like your rated R American Werewolf in London film, but if you want to watch a werewolf film with like your kids or your family, it's absolutely at the top of something you want to watch. It's a well-produced film, and it totally delivers, you know. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, the main character is a podcaster YouTuber, so I mean, you know, I was watching that. I'm like, oh, his co-host left halfway through. I wonder if mine's going to.
Most people don't realize. I mean, I made the werewolf for the movie, but I also play the man that turns into the werewolf in the film.
I thought that was you.
People don't realize that. Yeah, I and how that came about was I had a design like a pre-production makeup of what we were going to do to the actor who plays the man that turns into the werewolf. So he looks wolfy before he turns into the werewolf. And I just used a picture of myself and did some like, photoshopping on it. I said, we should kind of do it like this. And the director said, hey, Joe, will you play the wolf man? I said, sure, let's do it. Yeah. So, yeah, that's how
I was going to ask if that came about organically or if it became one of those things like, you know, this creature's sort of my darling and no one's going to be able to do it the way I'm going to be able to do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was toying around with like getting into acting right before the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
After working in the business for, 40 years, I can tell you exactly what not to do. I've seen so many like people, so many actors, so many things on set that have like gone terribly wrong simply because the person that was doing it had no idea what they were doing. And I think right before the pandemic, I was working on a film and I put this like special effects makeup on this guy. It's like something really cool. It's like something I was really proud of. And the director's like, action. And then this guy comes out and pretends to be this monster or whatever. And it's just like, wah, wah, wah. And I'm like, oh, dude, I can do so much better than that. So, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have to do it. I'm going to have to step up and I'm going to have to start acting if I want to see my work in its best possible light. And quit relying on other people to do their part to save the day, or to, step up and show it in the best possible light. So
is there always a PCU that sees other people that are, in your makeups or using your effects? Is there always a PCU that's like, do it a little bit different?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I mean, like in a lot of, here's another thing is like a lot of filmmakers today, they think they understand how to shoot practical effects, but they have no idea because they've been, basically sucking on the teat of visual effects for so long using CGI, they have no idea what they're doing, and they think they do, but they don't. I recently worked on a sequel to a big movie. I'm not going to say any names, but it was like watching a car crash happen every time they would do a special effect because the man that directed this film, he hadn't directed a movie for 36 years. He's only directed 2 movies. The first one and then the sequel that I was working on. He was like 80. He's like 80 now. And he had no idea what he was doing. It was like 36 years later, or 1983 to just 2 years ago. It was really bad. It was sad to watch someone who maybe originally when the first film was made was surrounded by a good group of talented people that knew what they were doing and he just listened to them. But this time, after like directing, having this one film made that was like has a huge fan base now, understanding that maybe like his contribution to the film wasn't really what the fans liked, the special effects and maybe the theme song, that he wanted his contribution this time to be front and center, and he just missed the boat. He didn't know what he was doing. I can give someone like the Rolls Royce of special effects and they can just drive it off a cliff.
Yeah. Half of it
Yeah,
is how they utilize it and how they
Yeah,
make it work.
exactly. With the lighting, the camera angle, how long they show it on camera, all kinds of stuff. You know, some people just don't know what they're doing. And
Well, and I
it's
like
sad
that you
to
brought
say,
up
yes,
CGI because we've talked about it at length on this show about how, especially in horror, I mean, I think you could have a great movie, and if there's just the little wrong placement of CGI, that it could take you right out of it. I feel like the majority of horror fans are all about the practical effects and not, CGI. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but do you see any benefits, I guess, to enhance a practical effect with CGI, or is it just better to go full practical?
Well, it's funny that you should bring that up. I mean, I do both practical and digital effects. I went
Mhm.
to school back in 2010 to learn visual effects,
Nice.
and I like a very smooth combination of both. When I get the chance, I work with some very talented directors. Chad Farron is one of the talented directors I work with here in Hollywood. I've made 10 feature films with him, and we're getting ready to make a movie called The Devil's Disciple, The Night Stalker, which is based on the true story of Richard Ramirez here in Los Angeles. He
I'm
murdered
in.
a whole bunch of countless people.
I'm
And
in.
Chad, we've worked on many films together, and it's great to come in and finesse a practical effect with digital work if you can, and you know what you're doing. And I've been able to create some really cool illusions, basically by compositing practical elements together using visual effects, but never really creating a full effect in the computer. I only use the computer to blend or to soften or to enhance what's already been produced on set. So, and that's probably one of my favorite things to do.
That's
And I
awesome.
think going
That's
on that,
awesome.
like, particularly when you're making effects for like horror films specifically, right? Do you ever worry that if you push pushing gore or pushing like an effect or a costume or a character, do you ever worry that if you push it too far, it actually reduces the fear that someone might experience rather than enhance it?
I mean, like showing more than necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, being gratuitous. It depends what kind of film it is. I mean, I work a lot in true crime, which is not really horror per se, and it's best it's best when it's just hyper realistic, And the director that I work with, he just really understands. He understands how to shoot practical effects. He understands how to allow me to do the digital work that's necessary, and yeah, just show what's necessary for the money shot, but it depends. It just depends. I mean, I grew up watching a lot of Italian horror movies where everything was very gluttonous and very, they would hold on things for a very long period of time. It just depends, what kind of film you're making. But I mean, that's a really hard question to answer. I mean, I think most filmmakers these days, I don't know that they're making films for entertainment purposes. I think a lot of them making movies to be famous, to get noticed. It really doesn't. The entertainment value is somehow slipped away. This phrase, "slow burn," I think came out of people making bad films. It's like I've never heard of it's a slow burn. It's like watching paint dry, because that's
Yeah.
exactly what it's like, watching paint dry. And back in the day when I was growing up, it was very honorable, and everybody wanted to make films that were truly original. And these days, it just seems like very watered down carbon copy versions of things that have been done countless times over and over again. And it's like digging through a dumpster trying to find a diamond ring, find a good thing.
I agree with you. I agree 100%. I mean, I think we had I would say you got to grow up in probably like the golden, I mean, not the golden age of the silver screen in cinema, but you coming from the 70s and 80s and into the 90s. I mean, that was just a golden age of them
Absolutely,
great movies.
Every movie that was made went to the movie theater. Have you ever seen The Toxic Avenger?
Yeah.
I saw that movie in the theater when it was
Oh, man.
Have you
I
ever seen this
love
movie?
it.
Have you ever seen this movie called I'm gonna throw out some titles to see. Have you ever seen a movie called Your Hunter from the Future? Never heard
I don't
of
think
that?
so.
No.
It's such a bad Italian, like it's like a sci-fi caveman movie with actual full-scale dinosaurs before Jurassic Park.
Is it like a
And-
grindhouse kind of thing? Like a grindhouse film?
It's just this big, it's like Spanish Italian film called Your Hunter from the Future, and has this American actor. And anyways, I can't find it anywhere streaming anywhere. But it was, I saw this movie in the theater, and I like would take off like my senior year. I would take everybody out of fifth and sixth period down to the Ingram Six Mall to watch Your Hunter from the Future, and it's just like every bad film ever made it to the movie theater. I saw things like all the Fulci films, Zombies, City of the Living Dead, The Seven Doors of Death, The Gates of Hell. I saw those in the movie theater. I saw you ever seen a movie called Return of the Aliens, The Deadly Spawn? You ever see that?
Oh,
I saw like a double feature with Beetlejuice. Just like every bad movie ever made. The Company of Wolves, Mausoleum, Troll. I saw the original movie Troll in the movie theater. All Empire films, Parasite, all those films I saw at a movie theater. And back in the day, movies were like rated X. They were unrated.
Oh yeah.
They were rated X. So you wanted when it's like I saw the Evil Dead on VHS pirated before it was released in the movie theater.
We did a
snap.
whole episode on the Evil Dead series. That's so awesome that you said that.
Yeah, literally, it was like being passed around. I saw, just it was amazing stuff. When I was 12 years old, my best friend Stephen Shaw was almost a year older than me, even though we were in the same grade together. And so for his birthday, when he turned 13, I asked my mom if we could go see the original Creepshow, George Romero's Creepshow. So, it was rated R, but, it was like a Saturday morning at like 11 a.m. at the Ingram Six Mall, and she would, your parents would sign you in, right, for rated R film. So you got these two 12-year-olds sitting in the front row of the theater watching Creepshow, like every movie, we got to see in the movie theater, and it was a golden age. It was a golden time for films, yeah.
You said the zombie. I'll never forget. Sorry, Ryan. I don't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
I just have to say the zombie movie where the zombie in the water is fighting the shark. That was something that will never be seen again. That was crazy.
Yeah, I saw that movie in the theater. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, all those films. In fact, most people don't realize this, but Gates of Hell, which is a sequel to Zombie, it's Zombie, The Seven Doors of Death, and then Gates of Hell. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
That's the trilogy of the films. And you watch them in that order. It starts with Zombie, The Seven Doors of Death, and then the Gates of City.
I'm writing that down because they might be on Shudder, and I need to make this happen.
Yeah, you can probably find them all. Yeah, those are the three Fulci. That's a trilogy of his.
The second one was called what?
The Seven Doors of Death.
Seven Doors of Death.
The
Gates
Beyond.
of Hell.
It was released as the Seven Doors of Death, but I think you can find it on Tubi as The Beyond.
The Beyond. Done.
Yeah, or the Seven Doors of Death. When I saw it in the movie theater, it was called The Seven Doors of Death, and now it's called The Beyond. But then the third film, which was released in the United States as Twilight of the Living Dead. No, Twilight of the Dead. George Romero made them pull like all the news. I remember it was like a full. Do you ever read a newspaper? Do you ever like open up an old newspaper? It was a full page of just the poster, Twilight of the Dead.
Yeah.
And I remember they ran it like this is like 1983, and I remember it ran for 1 week, and George Romero made them pull up all the papers because he trademarked Of the Dead,
Living Dead, yeah.
Not Living Dead, but Of the Dead.
Of the Dead.
And they call it Twilight of the Dead, and so they changed the title to Gates of Hell, and then, but it's now you find it on Tubi. I think it's City of the Living Dead.
Ryan, I'm telling you, we were born in the wrong decade, bro.
I was just going to say that. I was like, if we were going to school when Joe was and he pulls us out for 5th and 6th period to go watch some movies, hell yeah, let's do it.
You and I would be getting suspended, ditching class all the time. We'd be at the theater, watching scary movies.
Well, I grew up on this goat ranch. So my first car was a 77 Chevy Blazer. This is huge Bronco, so I could fit like 10 people in it. And then, it's kind of like this mud terrain tires where you could just like drive over, I would drive over medians with it at school. You wouldn't have to wait in line to get out of a parking lot. You just drive over the median.
Can you guys popping out of like a clown car? Like
South Texas, we do. Yeah, and it was great. It was great. Yeah, it was fun times. So,
well, just the evolution of the theater experience, or de-evolution, I guess now, because streaming is is really big, and we actually talked about it with Ed and how that theater experience is slowly kind of going away, and
Yeah.
it's. I mean, I hate that it's going away. I know Chris does. I'm sure you do as well.
Well, do you
But
have,
just the way
do
it
you have,
evolved from your. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I said, do you have revival houses where you're at?
No, the Alamo
we
Draft
can-
House occasionally
Alamo,
does
that's-
something like
okay,
that. Yeah.
Well,
But
here
AMC is what it's
here
all
in Los
about.
Angeles, they have many revival houses, and one of the big ones is the New Beverly that Quentin Tarantino runs, and you can see like
Yes.
all these movies I'm talking about there.
He loves cinema. Like, he's a genuine cinema lover, and that's exactly right. Like, old
You
school
can see 'em
movies
on
like
film.
that.
I mean, you can
Yeah.
see stuff that you would never see on a big screen on film. You know, we recently got like a brand new print of Halloween that we saw with. I think we didn't see it with Jamie Lee Curtis, but we saw it with Deborah Hill, I think, before she died, and John Carpenter was there, and then like if you've never seen The Shining in a movie theater on a big screen, you got to see it on a movie screen. It's amazing.
It's on my
2001
bucket
Space
list
Odyssey.
because we're in Colorado, so they
Okay.
they show it every once in a while. I always
You gotta
tend to
go
be
see it
busy
on
when they're
a-
showing
on a
it, but
35 millimeter print. Yeah, yeah, you have to see it. It's a totally different experience than seeing it on a television.
Yeah.
So yeah.
well, yeah, like one of those movies, like, what would it have been like to go opening weekend to go see The Shining, and just like how your mind would have reacted to that. That's the conversations that Chris and I have, because obviously, we can only deal with the era we were born into. So, we have different experiences totally, but we definitely feel like we were, we were robbed by the time we were born.
Well, San Antonio, Texas was like the biggest city next to Helotes, Texas, where I grew up. It was only about 25 minutes from it, the city limit. San Antonio, Texas was the heavy metal capital of the world for a while. And so it was also the test market for all the horror movies that were released. So they would run advanced screenings of films in San Antonio, and you could get free tickets to go see movies. Like I saw an uncensored version of the original Fright Night as a test audience. It wasn't even rated R at the time. It was just a test market. So I got to see movies like just stuff like that there in San Antonio. It was a really fun, different time. But over here in Los Angeles too, you're back in like the early '90s. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 was they ran an uncut version of it as a test audience here in LA. I mean, it was cut up for an R rating, but we got to see it like without all the sound in and with all the gore and special effects in it here. And every once in a while they'll do something special like that, but not like the way they used to.
What's been Ryan, by the way, Joe just gave us our next business idea. We need to open a revival theater here on the Front Range.
Yeah, no, everybody loves revival theaters. Yeah, absolutely.
What I always wanted to do is I wanted to open one with bouncers. So if you're talking, or if you're on your phone, if you're, whatever, if you're just laughing too loud, boom, you're gone. You're gone. You're not coming back. So, which I think Alamo does something like that. Like, you have to follow their rules, which I love, because I think there was one point where AMC, I think it was coming out of COVID, was talking about putting in a phone only section. I'm like, you better not.
You can take out your phone in a movie theater.
That's a cardinal sin.
Yeah,
Ryan, you remember I almost got in a fight with a teenager when we went and saw Halloween Ends because they wouldn't shut up next to us.
Shut up! We're watching this horrible movie. Stop.
Joe, what's been one of your favorite effects that you worked on in a movie? One that really just sticks out to you?
That's a great question. I mean, I've had a lot of, I don't know if it's the effect or the experience I had working with the director that made it so special. I mean, I've done a lot of really fun stuff over the years. You know who Herschel Gordon Lewis is?
It rings a bell. I know it from somewhere.
Herschel Gordon Lewis is the man that invented the slasher movie. He directed a movie back in 1963. It was called Blood Feast.
I'm writing it down right now.
Original slasher splatter movie. And Herschel Gordon Lewis is the inventor of the formula, which is innocent victims are stalked by a deranged killer and killed on camera in a horrific on-screen bloody death. And then in the climax of the movie, the killer is killed by the hands of the hero or heroine of the movie in an even more horrific on-screen death. Does that formula sound familiar?
Very familiar. It's the prototype.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
it's the prototype.
And so if you've never seen Blood Feast, then you've never seen the original slasher movie.
You were giving us a lot of homework, and I love it.
I love it so much. My mind always goes right to Halloween, right, for the original slasher. And then if someone wants to take it farther than that, I immediately go to like Psycho, like Hitchcock's Psycho.
Yeah, so
back in the
Psycho
50s.
came out the year before Blood Feast, or like a year and a half before Blood Feast. But Psycho did not exploit blood. It did not
Right.
have-
There was
it did
very
not-
minimal.
Yeah, and what wasn't even in color. This was the first one in color. So Herschel literally exploited blood. It's like the first slasher splatter film where the blood was dripping, and in fact, the movie was so controversial that movie theaters did not even wouldn't play it. So
That's right.
What Herschel had to do was Herschel had to go to the adult porno houses, and he would play them. And he'd rent out the porno house. He did self distribution. And that's how he got his audience. But Herschel directed all kinds of very famous films. The Gruesome Twosome, The Wizard of Gore. They even did a remake with I forget what you would know his name. The Wizard of Gore, Gruesome Twosome. Let's see, the Gore Girls, Blood Feast, and one other really big one. I forget which one it was. Anyways. But so Herschel directed Blood Feast 2 in 2001, to get back to your question, and he asked me to do this effect where this girl gets her head peeled like have you ever seen them do brain surgery where they have to take the skin and they have to peel it all the way forward and then with the skull cap?
They did it to Gwyneth Paltrow in Contagion when they were doing the autopsy.
Yeah. So he had me do that.
Saw 4, the opening scene is Jigsaw gets his whole head. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, this was 2001. We did it. We did it in Blood Feast, and we took a turkey carver, and we cut the skin on the back of her neck, and then we peeled her head forward, and that was probably one of my all-time favorite effects that I've done.
And I mean, granted, because there's a lot of pictures I saw. Is that one on your website?
It should be. It should be.
Okay, because I think I remember a face getting peeled.
I think if not, it's me and Herschel holding like the head with no skin on it, and we're both like two little kids like with a brand new shiny toy going, look at what we have. Yeah. I maybe it's not like the best effect I've ever done, but it's definitely one of the most fun and memorable. And then fast forward all the way to working with Chad Farron. If you haven't never heard of Chad or his films, you should definitely. He just did a movie called Ed Kemper, which came out last year. And,
yeah, it's on Amazon. It's on Prime.
Yeah, it's a very, very good movie. If you like true crime and you like horror films, you will just love this movie. But we did a movie a couple of years ago called Scalper, and there's a scene where the killer takes a knife and he sticks it through the back of the guy's neck, and it comes out the front, kind of like the way Kevin Bacon dies in the original
Friday the 13th.
But this one is just off the hook crazy because we did it from the profile of the coming down, not from the front. And when we were in the theater at the premiere, I had invited a whole bunch of friends, and they were all sitting in the row in front of me, and all these tough guys, and they thought they were tough. And that scene comes on, and one of them actually put his hands up to his eyes. She put his hands.
Hey, not gonna lie, I've done that all the time.
That's when you know you've done it right. They can't just close their eyes; they have to put their hands on their eyes. So yeah.
I'll try and be badass, and I'll try and look out my peripheral vision, so it looks like I'm looking at the screen, but I'm actually not. But
one time I was a screening. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You're the guest. You go ahead.
One time we were at a screening of one of our films, and I know there was a couple sitting behind us in the back row, and I took a look back. It was one of the actors from the film had brought his girlfriend, and I turned around to see if they were enjoying the show, and she had her head in his shoulder with her eyes closed, and he looked at me like I didn't know the rest of the movie was this sick. Yeah. Anyways, you've done it right.
Well, it is. Well, and that's just a little kind of backstory on our show. I mean, we kind of started this because we always kind of felt that horror kind of gets a bad rep. You know, Chris and I, our friendship kind of blossomed over horror movies, and we knew each other because of a mutual friend. Like, he was always a nice guy, but we didn't actually start talking until we realized, hey, you're into this demented shit like I am? Sweet, let's go. And we've talked to people, like I've done it in job interviews when I'm interviewing an employee, a potential employee, and I'll always end it with, hey, what's your favorite movie? And then they'll ask me, and I'll go, oh, you know, it changes from day to day, but I'll go like, oh, Scream. I love Scream. And there's like, ugh, really? And it's like, we've always said it's not one size fits all. Obviously, there's super gory horror movies. There are the slow burns, as you said. There's the found footage style. We truly believe that there's a horror movie out there for everyone, whether you think so or not. And this is kind of what I love about doing this show, is we talk to a visual effects artist like yourself that, you know, I'm sure you feel like you're living a double life sometimes, where you're just like, okay, you know, I'm having breakfast and then I'm designing this effect over here. Like, I'm editing the show. We did an episode on the saw traps, and I was like, you know, I gotta Google a clip of a girl chopping her arm off, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go get my kindergartner. She's at school. So, do you ever find yourself in a situation where you're just like, damn, this is really my life? Like,
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, you know, today I was making a live cast of a young actress for this new Night Stalker film, and she gets she's tied up, and I guess she's bludgeoned in the head. And there's Richard Ramirez was alive for many years in prison, and he on video like described everything he did. So everything is documented. You can go and you can find everything that he did. I don't know if he embellished it just for being famous and this sort of thing, but you know, I pulled up some pictures to show her what we were going to do to her, you know, and I said he bludgeoned this girl in the head so hard that her eyeball came out of her socket.
Yeah, he put him in the jewelry box.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Big true crime fan. So all you're saying is resonating with me 100%.
And she's like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah. And but he tied her hands so tight, and she was there so long that her hands swelled up like balloons. All the fluid, and so I had to make molds of her hands to make her hands swell up like balloons. And that, you know, this, and you know, and she had her boyfriend with her while we were making the live cast, and they were having so much fun. And you know, to answer your question, and you ever go, do you stop and go, this is my life, you know? And that's like one of those moments, you know, like I'm there doing my job, and these two young people are just having a blast, having a live cast made, this sort of thing. They were taking pictures. I was pouring stuff over her face, but ultimately, you know, it's just like sometimes you're in a film, you know, and you're working with somebody maybe that you grew up, you know, idolizing, and it just seems like a dream, you know. Yeah,
that's
I mean,
awesome.
I've had a chance to work with a lot of my heroes. Like Herschel was one of them, Herschel Gordon Lewis. You know, but he's considered the godfather of gore, and you know, to be able to work on the sequel to the very first slasher movie ever is, you know, it's not only a huge accomplishment, but the dream come true. I had a chance to work with a lot of really fun, famous people.
That's awesome. So, and you touched on a couple projects upcoming. Is there anything else you're working on that you can give us a little sneak peek on?
Give a shout out to Clown Motel 3, Three Ways to Hell, which will be coming out this year. It's a Joseph Kelly film, and I am one of the lead villains in the movie, and I create all the special effects for the film. It's a fun movie, definitely delivers. If you like the Clown Motel franchise, there's 1, 2, and 3. The third one is definitely the best of everything from the first two and more. And then, like I said, getting ready to do the Richard Ramirez story. But then later on this year, I'm shooting a movie called The Morning Architect, and morning as in not like the beginning of the day, but as in crying. The Morning Architect.
Morning, M-O-U.
Yeah, The Morning Architect, and it's basically a man whose pain and suffering has turned him into a monster, and he's like literally lived throughout time trying to bring his wife back to life. He's a doctor. He's like a 17th century physician, and he's like this ancient kind of being. And I get to play the lead villain in that film as well, and do all some really crazy
awesome
effects for the film. been given. I'm an executive producer on the film, so I kind of get to do whatever I want. Just really, really, I'll pull out the stuff. Pull out everything for the effects. So
Awesome.
I'm really, really proud of that. It's going to be happening this year. It's a big undertaking, but hey, you're not getting any younger, and just gotta enjoy it while you can do it.
Amen.
Yeah,
Right.
I kind of feel like
And
sometimes this is a young person's game. The older you get, things start to slow down, and everything becomes more important, and enjoy the moments and this sort of thing. So at this point, every movie I work on is important to me. Everything.
I love to hear that too, because it's clear you're doing you're doing the work because, like you said earlier, it's the passion for the product that you're doing. It's not just I want everyone to know my name, I want everyone to see it. It's like it's the passion that you get to pour into it every single day, and I think you're blessed to have it. That's wonderful.
Thanks for saying that, Chris.
Well, and I mean, just piggybacking off what Chris said, I mean, and as an audience member, you can tell whether a movie is the greatest thing you've ever seen, or maybe it falls flat in some areas. You can tell if it was made just to make a buck, or if it was made with some love and passion behind it. And that was one of my takeaways from The Beast Comes at Midnight, was that you could tell that, like, there was some heart and soul put into this, and that's what resonated with me when I watched it. And then obviously, talking to Ed, and actually seeing the behind the scenes on that, it does truly bring it home. And I hope our audience checks out these movies as well, now that you've also heard more behind the scenes stuff on all of them. It's something that the normal audience member doesn't really understand, but they can definitely tell when a movie is just made to make a buck, or like you said, people just make a movie to be famous, or to be remembered, or it's very easy to tell on the audience. Sorry, I keep thinking of questions, but one that because you have like a million projects going on at all times, it seems. Do you are you pretty picky with the projects that you choose? Is it do you look at the script? Does that play an impact? Does the budget? Like, what is the most important factor when you're deciding to take a project?
Just want to finish up.
Yep.
The people that made that film, it was then in Central Florida, right outside of Tampa, and a true film family. I felt like family when I was working with them. And you're right about that. There was a lot of love poured into that film, and the people that made that film really knew what they were doing. I mean, and it really shows the craft and the skill behind making that film. Because they had to turn me into a werewolf, and I remember even the costumer had this perfect like trench coat for me to wear.
Yeah, the trench coat, yep.
Girded me up,
Yep.
and the whole bit. They really. I was surprised because I work on a lot of low budget movies. And in The Beast Comes at Midnight was what would be considered a low budget film, but they did so much with what they had, and they made it look really good. But I mean, hey, if they got money, yeah, sign me up. But as far as working on a film, people come to me to work on their movies because they want something different. I mean, if you look at the body of my work, most of the stuff I do is I'm always trying to do something that's never been done before. It's kind of like my thing. When people come to me to ask me to work on their film, it's because they're looking for something unique. Normally their story or their script has something to do with that. And I'm always up for a challenge of doing something new. Don't ask me to slit someone's throat if that's all. Just don't ask me to do something that's been done a million times. You'll put me to sleep. But if you ask me to come up with a new way to do it, then I will. But yeah, that's how I kind of approach a project. And depending on there's been some really low budget projects that I passed on that I regretted.
Yeah.
That turned out to be huge accomplishments. Sometimes you make a bad call and you pass on something you shouldn't have. It happened recently. I'm like, oh man, I should have just bit the bullet and just done it for pennies.
So totally get it. Yeah. Well, I mean, we told Ed last week if he ever needs a couple people to play podcasters, we will work for free, and if you want to kill us in a crazy way, we're all for it. So.
100%.
Where y'all located? Where are you located at?
We're in the Denver area.
You're in Denver. Okay, yeah. We're shooting The Morning Architect in Florida, and I really can't say much about it, but it's a very unique concept. I've seen portions of it, something similar in some ways, maybe like the original Poltergeist. Is a little bit. There's some elements like that are in this film, but it's definitely something that's not like anything that's being done right now. Which that's what really drew me to the project. Yeah.
Love that.
Awesome.
Love that. Well, this is one of the fun parts of the show as we wrap up here. But you've given amazing recommendations and amazing movies that I have a cool list right here that I wrote down a ton of stuff. But if you had to choose one, we always like to end with recommending a movie that we're like, you know what, everyone's got to see this. You've got to go check it out. So I'm going to pass the torch to you a little bit here. If you've got one movie that's top of mind that you're like, everyone has got to go see this thing, whether it's for the effects or the story or the entire whole film, whatever it is, what's that recommendation for you, Joe?
Well, if you're asking for a horror film or just a film in general,
usually horror. Yeah, well, horror.
I would definitely say watch Ed Kemper. It's the movie that came out in 2025. Directed by Chad Farron. It totally delivers on every single level. And if you don't watch it with kids.
No, I'm extremely familiar with him and his crime, so it's definitely
This is a straight up like true crime masterpiece, and it's presented in a way where everything is hyper realistic and it leaves nothing to the imagination. And the performances are outstanding in the film, and it's just a great, well made film. But if you're squeamish, definitely don't watch it.
Amazon has been recommending it every time I open Prime Video, so I will put it on my list.
Okay. Yeah, you should absolutely watch it. Everybody should
It's
watch
fate.
it. Yeah.
It's fate. It's got to be fate.
Yeah.
And whatever. I watched it with my kids last night. They're fine. They haven't slept, but it's all good. So, Joe, my last one. It's an easy one on the surface, but it's tripped some people up. Obviously, you've mentioned a lot of movies, like Chris said. I'm not even just going to ask what your favorite movie of all time is, but let's say you can just watch one for the rest of your life. You got to give everything else up. What is it? It doesn't have to be horror either. It's just any movie.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on the day, right? I mean,
Well, there's a film, because I like to watch movies with other people, so do I get to watch it with other people? I can watch Godzilla anytime. I can watch any Godzilla film anytime, except for the American one, the 1998 one. I don't
with Matthew Broderick.
I was going to bring that up. I
loved the new one, Godzilla -1 they did a couple years ago. That was amazing.
Yeah, I would say any Godzilla. If I had to watch, it would be any Godzilla film. I recently saw the Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, I think last week, with my husband here, and he'd never seen it, and it's just priceless. It's magnificently made. The craftsmanship into every aspect of that film is amazing. The performances, the story, the lighting, the Godzilla himself is a good guy in the film, and the story, the subject matter is still relevant. It's about toxic waste and how we're destroying the planet with toxic waste. It's still relevant, and it's just a really good, solid movie. Yeah. Godzilla versus.
Damn, you are getting the deep cuts, the hard hitters here. I like Chris said, we got a laundry list of movies to watch now. I guess we're calling out of work for the rest of the week. That's good.
I'm saying I'm working from home tomorrow as it is anyway, so I might just pop one out.
It's super fun. It's a super fun film. It's totally. Personally, I think it's totally unexpected. There's a lot of things about it that are very unexpected because it's not really a kids film. I think the other ones were like more of a kids film. They're a kids film. Godzilla vs. Smog Monster is not a kids film. Yeah.
Excellent.
Oh man, I've loved the hell talking to you tonight, dude. We can't thank you enough for coming on. And giving given your insight. It's always something that I personally have been interested in. I know Chris has been as well. To talking to someone that is way more creative and talented than we are to come up with this stuff. And guys, check out his website, Joe Castro FX. That's the letters FX.com. Make sure you check out those movies that are coming out. That Ed Kemper, that's on Amazon. You got Beast Comes at Midnight, that's on Tubi. And keep an eye out for his upcoming projects. Now that you've heard him talk, you know the man behind the carnage. It's just, that's why we love doing this show, man. We love talking to anyone and everyone that's involved in the industry. Thanks for coming on our little podcast. We haven't even been doing this 3 months, so but we're having a blast, and thank you for helping us keep this going. Is there anything else you want to say to our audience on the way out?
See all the movies that I directed, you can go to www.terrortoons.tv. They've all been up-res to Blu-ray, 4K, and you can see all the uncut, uncensored versions of the films that I've directed there.
Awesome.
Damn. All right. I'll put that link in here as
well. Link below.
Yep, link below. I hate it when people say that, but here we are. Hit like and subscribe. There we go. Joe, thank you again.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Hope to have you
Appreciate
back
you.
on maybe closer to when some of these movies are released and we can cover them. And yeah, man, thank you so much.
Thanks for
everybody.
On the show, guys.
We're back on Friday for we're covering 28 years later, the Bone Temple on Friday. So we're gonna get into that one. But guys, we'll see you then. Check out Joe's work and have a great one. Watch scary movies.
Peace, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Roasted Snow Horror Show. Please follow us on our social media pages and tell your friends, pretty please!